So here we are at Christmas, the feast of the Nativity, the birth of Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us. We pulled together stories from only two of the Gospels, and they're quite different from one another, and we string them together to make this Christmas story. For many of us gathered here, it is a story that we love, and yet it's one we want to continue to tell. And yet, during Advent, we had a chance to talk about family traditions that are no longer kept through lack of interest or actually active resistance from the generations that follow. Just as with Advent, it can be like this with Christmas. How do we tell the story to our little ones, the generations that are to follow us? We know the story well, that's not a problem. But is the world of our children and grandchildren so different that translating it from what it used to be to what it is now is too daunting a task? Maybe they don't have enough time or interest. Maybe it no longer resonates, this type of story, with our younger ones. That wonder and mystery that I remember as a child doesn't seem quite so incredible. In the digital world where all those imagined impossibilities can be made possible and they can be interacted with every day. So what does this happen? What happens with the Nativity story? Does it make it redundant or meaningless? Well, I want to poke around that nativity scene. I've got some little ones here on my mind, but over here there's a nativity scene, and those of you that know the story will know who's in the nativity scene. What it shows is a mother and a father and a baby and a group of people who are witnessing to the occasion. You know what really struck me this year when I was thinking about our young people and I was thinking about the picture that we see here? It seems to me that this nativity scene communicates something about what a normal whānau or family looks like, what it's constructed like. And this is what we might call a whānau tapu. This is a holy family. From what I observe and know of children, this is not a very normal way or family construct anymore. There's a whole lot of different ways that families come together or what family or whānau means. So then if we go into that story and we poke around a little bit, we learn from the story that that mother is a pregnant Mary. The whole story tells us she's got pregnant, she's a very young woman, and she's had a baby, and that baby is to be called Jesus. And then we look at the dad, Joseph. Well, he's not the biological father. And then we've got angels, and we've got shepherds, and we've got wise people who actually don't arrive. This is a creed of presence of them. And those people, those angels, have impelled the shepherds to come, and the wise ones have had a leading star that have brought them to this place. And they arrive unexpectedly to affirm this birth. These people have a really important role in this drama. So now I want to ask you a question, and I get our young people to run around, but they look a little bit young for the running around I was going to ask. I want to ask a question of you, put your hand up, if you identify. How many of the different characters in this nativity scene can you identify with? How many of you are, or have been, shepherds? How many of you consider yourself angelic? Yeah, I agree totally. Who considers himself a person who walks and portrays the way of wisdom? You actually have your hand up if you like. Who has affied a child not biologically your own? Who has been pregnant and given birth? You see, some of us may be or have been some of these things at some time. The only character in this scene that we can all identify with is the newborn, a baby born of a woman. We each have experienced this, else we wouldn't be here, even if we don't remember it. And as we listen to the story, we learn about this child through those other through the shepherds, through the magi. They're the ones that tell and name their part and name who the child is. So it is in our lives, it is the people around us that name us, that acknowledge us, and that give of who they are to nurture and to share and to bring us to life. It is through them we know who we are. So go back to that idea of wanting to tell this nativity story to our children and to those who are to come. Have you ever thought about what it is you're wanting to communicate? Do you simply want to witness? You see, young people have an acute radar for, I want to use the word BS, but I'll say integrity. They see straight through it, right? So is this Christmas nativity story that we want to tell? Is it in our hearts and minds just a children's story that we want to tell? Or does the story in some way change us? Does it have an influence on how we choose to interact and approach life? What we decide is important or think is possible? What might the story be revealing, and what difference does that make? What I would like to suggest that this story reveals the potential for the divine to come to life in us, each of us, to be translated and known in the world through us. Holiness, like a small child, is nestled in our hands and in our arms always and always. Not a holiness that is set apart, but holiness within life. It is this that makes it possible, from the words of Isaiah, that through us the yoke of burden and the bar across shoulders and the rod of the oppressor will be broken. How does that translate to your life? I want to tell you a story, a real story. Just a short few years ago, not far from here, somebody had a dream, a group had a dream. An impossible vision was imagined. And along with that came courage and determination and insistence that that hopeful dream could be made real. Not to benefit those who had the dream so that they could boast, but to make real a place where the lost and the least would find hope. It was a dream of contagious passion. It caught the imagination and the willingness of those who could make it happen. The people of this place, Ngāti Whātua o Araki, local and national government, healthcare, developers, businesses, architects, project managers, builders, fundraisers, and funders came together. An impossible vision was made real. The collective will, the expertise, the hands and hearts and giving of so many have brought this dream, a place of awa and manakitanga, into being. Some of us were privileged to walk through this impossible dream last Monday. Its name is Homegrown. And you walk out St Matthew's and look left, it's that big building there. Words of karaka rang out, words of karakia and blessing awoke the spirit there last Monday. Walking through each space, we were asked to touch each one. In so doing, we were told, we became part of bringing and breathing Homegrown to life. During the korero, the speeches afterward, it was said, this is the end of a beginning. What will make this baby have life are the real people who will dwell there, who will work there, the real people that will make real the absolutely insistent declaration that no one will be excluded, no one will be left behind, no one will be told they do not matter or are not worthy, for this ground is their home. That Homegrown should come into being is an astounding feat in itself. As Helen said last night, $110 million were raised for that to happen from nothing. And as we mingled and talked here afterwards in St Matthew's, as we shared food together to complete the event, and we talked with those people, those project managers, the architects, the shim staff, the construction workers, business owners, sponsors, politicians, fundraisers or financiers for this project. This one had been for them like none other. Of course, there have been constant negotiations. Straightforward is not the nature of construction, especially with lockdowns. Even so, there was a sense of worthiness in this project that stood it out from others. Some workers reflected that but for the chance given them by the construction company built environments, they could well have become a mission client, homeless and in desperate need. I was struck by the gentle generosity, by the people, all those people really wanting to be there, really proud to have been part of it. As if there was something more organic going on here. They had become part of creating something that said, we can care. We can create places that include. We can be part of making our society a place we are proud to live and participate in. And the really neat thing is, each of them doing what they did best was what was needed, was what was wanted, and what was made it happen. The impossible made real. To me, there are very real strains of our nativity story here. So when we think about Christmas this year, and we think about that example given us, do we want to talk about the story? Or do we want to find ways to live the story out? We've each been a newborn child. This is the character that we inherit in the nativity of Christmas. Born to participate and to be wholly on the sacred ground of earth, bringing and giving who we are for the life of the world, because the life of the world needs us.